so much. I love you so much. I love you so much. I love you so much.
Hello, all you positive heads out there. Thanks for tuning your beautiful brainwaves into another episode of the Positive Head Podcast, where we are firmly convinced that creating success and happiness is rooted in understanding the ultimate nature of reality and the fact that as human beings, we are all immensely powerful fractals of the one and only source consciousness, which creates and animates all things. Now, of course, understanding this powerful truth is one thing. Applying this incredibly empowering wisdom to everyday life, well, that's another, which is exactly why we provide you with a fresh serving of soul food for thought 5 days a week to help constantly remind you of what matters most. You are it. And I'm your host, Brandon Beecham. I'm the reflection and extension of you who will be here each Wednesday interviewing a different consciousness changemaker. And on the other 4 weekdays, leading the way to ensure that your perspective is consistently expanded, your vibration is constantly elevated, and your heart is overflowing and full. Also, before we jump into today's episode, I'd like to take a moment to tell you about a few sponsors that not only help to make it possible to produce this show 5 days a week, but that I'm also genuinely passionate about promoting, especially since they're helping to fund all the cool projects we have in the works, such as the Positive Head app, the docuseries that I'm intending to begin shooting within the next year, and whatever else we dream up over here at Positive Headquarters to help spread consciousness across the planet. Now, if you're short on time or just super excited for today's topic and want to dive right in and skip these ads, feel free to fast forward about
4 minutes
to get right into today's show. That being said, I strongly encourage you to listen because the reason I'm passionate about my sponsors is because they've made a huge impact in my own life, which is why I've aligned with these organizations. And I firmly believe they can do the same for you too. The first longtime stellar supporter of the show that I want to mention is Gaia. If you're not familiar, Gaia is the go-to source for streaming consciousness content online with over 8,000 video titles. And you can sign up for your first month for only 99 cents at gaia.com/positivehead. That's spelled GAIA.com/positivehead. The second sponsor I'm extremely passionate about promoting is Purium. It's no mystery that bringing your mind, body, and spirit into balance is necessary if a person truly intends to manifest the greatest and greatest version of themselves. And as of recording this, it's been about 4 months since I started taking the Purium Core 4 superfood products every day. And I can honestly and sincerely say my mind, body, and spirit have never felt more in alignment. If you've been looking for a way to easily get superfoods into your system every day with a simple plan that can help you reestablish a healthier foundation and relationship with food, I cannot recommend for you to start with the Purium 40-Day Ultimate Nutrition Plan, which includes a 10-day metabolic reset and cleanse enough. I spent personally months researching Purium before I jumped in, and now myself and over 150 other positive heads have started with the 40-Day Ultimate Nutrition Plan, and many of us have continued taking the Core 4 products on an ongoing basis daily ever since. I personally intend to take them for the rest of my life because they played a huge role transforming my vibrational state. If you decide to do it, it'll cost you just over $7 a day for the first 40 days and only about $5 a day after. But if you do it the way that I recommend you to do it, the smartest and most beneficial way, it won't cost you anything. I recommend you to just look at where you can reallocate money you are already spending on food each day. Essentially, you're just going to swap out the unhealthiest stuff you're in the habit of purchasing in exchange for Purium superfoods. And this way, it costs you nothing to participate in the transformation and cleanse. And it creates exponential benefit because now you've replaced something that lowers your vibration with something that is going to make you feel super high in the healthiest kind of way. Just take a few minutes, see where you can cut out $5 to $7 a day and commit to doing it. It's that simple. Also, for support, we'll be doing a big group transformation with other positive heads and soul family once each month for support. So I recommend, going right now, ordering your 40-day Ultimate Nutrition Plan bundle so that you have it when the next group transformation starts. Procrastination is not your friend. Order it now. You can thank me later, because I can assure you, you will not be sorry you've decided to send a message to the universe that you're ready to step up your vibrational game and reclaim your health sovereignty. Just head over to ishoppurium.com. That's spelled ISHOPPURIUM.com. Be sure to use the code POSITIVEHEAD, all one word, for either $50 off or a 25% discount, whichever is greater. And also, if you want to learn more details about the Purium products, why I'm so passionate about promoting them beforehand, you can go check out several videos I shot discussing these things in greater detail. You can also hear my interview with the very inspiring founder, David Sandoval. Much, much more over at positivehead.com/transformation. All right, all you positive heads, on this week's Powwow episode, I'm very pleased to have Tamra Oviatt here with me on the show. And Tamra is a visionary leader and founder of Sacred Activations, which is a transformational energy work modality that she says was divinely downloaded to her not so long ago, back in 2012. But since that time, it's been utilized to help activate thousands of people all around the world. Super excited to dig in with you here today. Hello, Tamra. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you. So happy to be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you. And we were talking a little bit before we turned the microphone on here to record, and you've got some interesting things to talk about. And I'm excited to dig in and hear all about it. Before we jump into your story, which is typically what I kind of ask second, first, I like to start off with a pretty predictable question. You're in an elevator. The woman next to you looks over, says, "What's your passion?" You have 10 floors to answer. What do you say?
World peace is my passion. That everybody knows we're all in this together. We're all one. It doesn't matter how much money you make, where you live, what color your skin is, what country you're from. We're all brothers and sisters. And when we realize that we are a collective consciousness controlling this world and how this world is running, when we start going inside and healing our hearts, we heal the whole world, because we are all brothers and sisters. We are all connected.
Yeah, I love that. And, the way I like to look at it is like when you heal what's inside of yourself, you see that reflected outside of yourself, because truly, from the ultimate perspective, there is no out there. I view it as like everything is like a prop in your own private movie. And when you start thinking of it from that perspective, you realize you have a lot more control than maybe you realized, right?
Absolutely. I always say you are the director, actor, and writer of your movie. What are you doing with it?
I love it. Yes. It's funny. I say almost the same exact thing pretty regularly. So this is perfect that we're here powwowing together. And, your story is fascinating. What I've caught bits and pieces of it even before we, actually connected here today. And then you started to tell a little bit more before we started recording, as I just mentioned. So why don't we do that? Why don't we back up and start with, how did you end up doing this very unique, amazing work that you're doing? What is the Tamra story?
In 1999, I was selling CNC machines, computer numeric controlled machines, to engineers, and having a very, very beautiful life. And I kept hearing I was supposed to be a healer over and over and over again. I didn't understand what it meant. So I said, okay, God, if you want me to be a healer, prove to me this white light exists. I'll get you a photo of this so you can share with your audience. And a couple days later, a friend of mine we were taking photos for the internet, singles, because we were newly single, and the internet dating sites had popped up by then.
Right.
And there's this photo of me with this white light hitting me right in the heart chakra. And it really blew me away. And I really hid it for years. And I wouldn't show it to anybody. And so I said, okay, what do you want me to do? And then I started on the journey through, I started with hypnosis, and then I did NLP, master NLP, started doing some energy healing work. And And through the years, I was going in and out of the workforce and trying to be a healer full time and not being successful because I had all these lack and limitation beliefs about being a healer and making money.
Right.
So I would go back into the workforce, and the journey just kept taking me. And in 2009, I quit my job and became a healer full time. Was really broke. It was bad. But in 2011, I met this gentleman online that lived in England, and he kept saying, "Tamra, come to England. I want to marry you." And I didn't really feel this like he was a soulmate or anything, but we had great conversations for like 4 months. So I said, okay. So I went over to England to meet him. And when I was there, I said, all right, God, why am I here? This is not why I'm here. I went on a walk one morning and was screaming at God, really, what the hell am I doing here? And when I said that, I got a reply that I needed to go to the Roslin Chapel in Scotland. And I never heard of it. So I said, okay. So I went back to his house, and he was on the phone with a friend of his, Daz, who was a writer, and he was into spirituality. And I told him what I heard, and Daz told me it said to activate your 12 strands of DNA, that was really cool and I should go. So we booked me a train and a B&B for the next day. And then I heard God tell me to call one of my clients, Vera, that lived in Scotland. I'd worked over with her on Skype. And so she met me at the church 2 days later. We're sitting in the church in the Roslin Chapel in Scotland. And I connected with God, and I said, okay, I'm here. And I was told to go into the Akashic Records. And when I went into the Akashic Records, there was another being standing there. And I said, who are you and what do you want? And he introduced himself as Lord Metatron, and that he was there to assist me. And then all this energy started flowing in the top of my head. It was spinning. And it was coming in, and it lasted for like 10 minutes. And then it was followed up by like these golden coins were like stacking up. And it was just really weird. Our heads hurt. We were dizzy, and I realize now why I needed Vera there was to, for me to witness this on her, because it's easier to witness on somebody else than it is yourself.
Right.
So when we were driving away, I was told I was now crystalline. I was to give this to others. And so she dropped me off at my bus stop, and I went back to my B&B and started calling all my friends on Skype. Hey, guess what happened? You want this? So I started doing this activation on people, and they were reporting massive changes in their lives. And then I went back to his house, and I knew I wasn't supposed to go home. Now, I only had $200 in my account, but I knew I wasn't supposed to go home. And I changed my, it was the day before my flight. I emailed somebody on Facebook that had interviewed me before, and I said, I need a cheap place to stay. I'm in England. He says, funny thing, my girlfriend and I just got a flat in London. Come stay with us.
Wow.
So instead of that guy taking me to the airport, he took me to the train station to meet this guy that I'd never met before except on Facebook. And I went and stayed with him and his girlfriend. I was there for about 6 weeks. And then, and during that time, I went to Stonehenge in Avebury. I took a tour bus down there. And when I was at Stonehenge, I walked around. I was freezing cold. It was in March, and England in March is freezing. So especially if you're from California.
Yeah, we're pretty wimpy when it comes to cold weather, at least in Southern California where I'm at.
Yeah. I was living in, I'm from Redondo Beach area.
Oh, okay. Not far from me.
So I went and sat on a bench. I said, okay, God, I'm here. And I was told to go to the sixth plane. There was Lord Metatron. And he kissed me on the forehead, and this energy started flowing in, and it scared me so much. I said, stop, what are you doing? Because I'd never experienced anything like that in my life. Wow. And he came to me, he said, don't worry about it. You're okay. Just let it continue. So the energy continued. And it was wild. I mean, it scared me.
Yeah.
And then, so back at these people's house, I got this other activation, which is called the Moses codes. And because when I connected again, told to go into the Akashic records, there was two beings standing there this time. And I said, "Who are you?" And he said, "I'm Moses." And I'm all, "Moses who?" But this, I didn't know I could talk to Moses. I didn't even know who Lord Metatron was at the time. Thank God, because I had zero confidence to talk to such a master. It's like, why would he talk to me?
Right.
So I received this other activation, and I saw this like form, this energy form when it was happening. And a friend of mine that the guy I was staying with, him and his girlfriend, he handed me Mizadek's book, The Secrets of the Flower of Life.
Oh, right.
And I opened it up to this page, and it showed the Tree of Life. I went, "Oh my God, I'm doing this."
Wow.
So these first activations I was receiving, it was activating people's sacred geometry in their body and in their energy fields. And I would see it repair them. And it was really, really interesting. And this is how this whole journey began. And it was so interesting. And then, so I emailed everybody in my personal email list, because I didn't have a list at the time. And I told them what had happened and what I was doing. And I had this guy call me that I met him and his wife in California and did like 2 sessions with him a year before. And he says, I'm in England. Let's do a session. I said, okay. So I talked to him on the phone, and I did the activations with him and found out he was heading over to Spain, because this was 2012, right? And you remember the world was supposed to end in December 2012?
Yeah, I remember.
So he had this house in Spain on this mountaintop off this dirt road that ran on solar energy and spring water. And so he was going to head over there because he was trying to buy it and they couldn't come up with the price, and his lease was up. So he didn't know what he was going to do. He had to head to Spain. So I heard God say, ask if you can go to Spain. So I said, hey, can I come to Spain with you? Because I had to leave where I was staying because their daughters were coming from Paris. So he's all, let me call my wife and ask. So anyways, the next thing I know, I'm meeting this guy I hadn't seen in a year at the airport, flying off to Spain. That was just such a start of an incredible journey. I ended up spending 8 months in Europe, and 3 months was in Italy all by myself. Just really working with different masters and stuff and different angels, and really learning what I'm doing now and what Sacred Activations does. As a matter of fact, they even gave me the name of it. I said, what do I call this? They said Sacred Activations. I went on Google and I looked up Sacred Activation, and I heard it, and I went, it's taken. They said, no, Sacred Activations, add an S. So I added an S and went, oh my God, it's available. So that's how this began.
Thank God there's more than one.
Yeah, there's over 300 now.
Wow.
A lot of the activations, they'll activate your sacred geometry, but a lot of them are deactivations. They deactivate programs that are running your life, different belief systems, and they clear it out of your past lives, your future lives, out of your genetics. And the biggie here is it also clears it out of the subconsciousness of humanity. Because when you think about it, you know how 95% of our lives are ran by our subconsciousness, right?
Right.
Well, if we're all one and we're all connected and we are a collective consciousness, that means there's a subconsciousness also for humanity. Sure. That is running humanity and running the planet just off those programs. So this also clears those programs so that you're no longer running them at all. Because some people try to work on things for years, but they're plugged into their town beliefs or their country beliefs or the world beliefs. And this clears it completely out so that you could be free to bring in more happiness and joy.
Very cool. Very cool. So you've started essentially receiving these activations, and then since have been using them, sharing them. There's over 300, you said, and just sharing. So they're sort of like, am I understanding they're almost like prescriptions to a certain degree? Like, like what areas do they work for? Maybe you could
all areas of your life. If you want better psychic abilities, there's activations for that. You want better relationships, better health, love life, family. I mean, it's for all areas of life. It covers it all. And I even do practitioner training and teacher trainings. I have teachers around the world. As a matter of fact, I'm doing a master teacher training this weekend. And last weekend did teacher training. And I work with people all over the world to help them shift their lives. And have over 400 practitioners doing it.
Wow, that's a good number. So, interesting. So, in all of these have been divinely downloaded from, in your case, from, these are all coming from Metatron. Was that just the first one? Like, what's the source? Are you?
I work a lot with Metatron. I work for God, and my teachers and my helpers are Lord Metatron, Mary, Jesus, Moses, Buddha. I mean, I've worked with a lot of the different masters and that have come in to teach me. Mm-hmm. And it's been a wild and crazy journey because, I never believed I could talk to any of them or they'd even talk to me.
Yeah. How did it begin? Was it just spontaneous, or was it something like, so a lot of times I'll have people on and they're like, yeah, starting at 3 years old, I had this or that happen. And, in your case, it sounds like it just kind of activated, later in life.
Yeah. Well, when I was 18, I had a cat that was really sick, and she was a skinny cat and she was blown up like a football. And I kept taking her to the vet. Everything we would do, all the tests we'd run, we couldn't find out what was wrong with her. She was lethargic. And I just thought I was going to lose my cat. And one night I said, God, what do I do? And I heard, put your hands on her and pray. And I did. And the next morning I woke up and she looked like she was never sick. She was just walking around like normal. It's like, whoa.
Holy moly. So you just started kind of hearing this voice.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I've always known things, and I've learned to listen from not listening. I mean, I got in a really bad motorcycle accident when I was 18. I was told intuitively, don't get on the bike, don't get on the bike, don't get on the bike. Must have heard it 20 times. Argued with my boyfriend. He says, wear a helmet. I got on the bike. We got in a really bad motorcycle accident. And if I wasn't wearing the helmet, I'd be dead. I wouldn't even be here. So I learned how to listen from not listening. And it took a while. I was always arguing. As a matter of fact, I finally stopped arguing.
Right.
So it's always prove it to me, prove it to me. And trust me, I've had too many times where it's proved it to me, where it's like, I'm not asking that anymore. Because some of it's like, man, you don't want to go through that.
Right. Yeah. Enough not listening that goes wrong. You slowly, maybe a slow learner, but you finally get the clue, right?
Yeah.
So these activations,
you're taught not to listen to stuff like that, So.
Right. Now, this story, as if it's not fascinating enough, the story that you've been on, what you were sharing with me before we turned the mic on takes this story to a whole nother level of otherworldliness, if you will. Do you care to share?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. At 3 years old, I knew I was a walk-in. Or I didn't know I was a walk-in at 3. But I remember a time at 3 when I went, okay, who are these people? Okay, who is this? Who is this? Who is that? What's she like? What's he like? And I summed up my whole family within a couple seconds. I knew who was intelligent, who wasn't. And sorry, family, if you're listening to this.
You won't name names, right?
No, I'm not naming names. But I totally summed up my family in a couple seconds. And I always remembered that. And I didn't really understand why. And then just growing up, I've always had, because people say you're always talking to your ego and your higher self. So I've always had conversations going on constantly, and sometimes even arguments about things. You want to do this, you want to do that. No, I want to do this. Do this. You know what I mean? And I noticed when I started teaching that I just channeled. I never knew what I was going to teach, what I was going to talk about. Every time I would try to write it up and lay it out, it's just, I might as well throw it out the window, because that wasn't what happened. And sometimes what I would be teaching was so advanced. I mean, I had no idea what I would be teaching until I started teaching, and it would always blow me away. And sometimes I'd go, what? In my head, what? You want me to do that? Are you kidding me? You're going to send these people sideways with that energy. You can't do that. And then I'd hear, just relax, and then of course the energy would continue. And back in, I think it was 2012, really, when all this started, one of the people I met, or the beings I met, I went into this guided meditation. So let's start here. So I went into this guided meditation, and Lord Metatron shows up, and I said hi, and he's all, come with me. And we went through this portal, and then I was on this other planet, and I was standing in front of this being, and she was really tall and lanky, and she scared the crap out of me, and I left. I came back to my body. And then, so the next night I go into guided meditation again, and Lord Metatron shows up again. He says, this time stay. And I said, okay. So we did the same thing, and I was standing in front of this being again, and I was just looking at her, and all I could say is, wow, you're so beautiful. And it wasn't physical presence beauty, it was her heart. She was just, it was like, wow. And she told me that her and I were one. And I was like, okay. So then later on in Italy, months later on this journey, when I was spending all this time alone in a country I don't speak the language, she would come to me and she'd say, it's time to integrate me. And then in the beginning of 2015, I was in Egypt, and I was standing in front of the Sphinx, and she came to me again and said, it's time to integrate me. And so I kept trying. I didn't understand it. It's like, okay, integrate. I know you're a higher aspect of me. Go for it. Let's do this. And I kept trying, and I didn't understand it. And, but, like always, I always had these conversations in my head, but I thought everybody had those.
Right.
So, so then fast forward to this summer. I was in escrow in this beautiful home in Ashland, Oregon. Absolutely beautiful home. And I was talking to a friend of mine. She works with unicorns. She's in England. And it's like, Bitten, I don't know what to do. I said, part of me wants this beautiful home, my beautiful car, all this stuff. And the other part of me just wants to leave. And she says, Tamra, you're a walk-in, right? And I said, yeah. She says, do you think maybe you left something behind? And I went, oh my God. So then Tamra and I, Tamra, or known as Shaw, had a conversation. And Tamra then understood what I meant by integrating me this whole time, because I was just kind of hanging out. She ran the family, she ran the business, she ran everything, and I just did the teaching. And so we talked, and her karma and all the things she was supposed to do while she was here was done, and she was happy to leave. So she's all, you're going to take over? Absolutely, I'm out of here. So she left. And then, so now I'm this single soul in this body, and I'm not having all these conversations anymore. And it's been, and then it was just the time integrating into the body and connecting to the body. I met her in the healing chamber, the Akashic Records, a couple days later, and we both cracked up laughing. I'm all, what is all this crap on me? All this energy. Can we get this off now? She laughs, and we cleared it. And I, for years, Tamara had a hard time for 15 years dropping weight. And since I've integrated the body, we're down 2.5 sizes. Got 2 more to go. And so I was sitting there. It's like, all right, God, why am I here? So the next thing I knew, I pulled out of escrow, really pissed the lady off. I'm very sorry. She's very sweet, but I was only in escrow for a week.
Yeah.
I sold almost everything I owned. I kept a couple things feeling like I was supposed to keep them. Like I had some rugs from Turkey and stuff that I bought that I was there, and some oil paintings from Lima, Peru I kept in my friend's garage, this very small pile of stuff. And I sold everything else I owned. I gave my son my beautiful E350 Mercedes. Told him to take
Lucky
good
for
care of my
him.
kitties. I'm out of here.
Wow.
And I
Wow.
have zero attachment to any of it. And
Wow.
right now I'm living in Puerto Escondido, Mexico. I'm sitting in an open kitchen. You know, it's very, very simple. I've got a 2-burner stove, you know, but I can hear the waves. I can see the ocean. I can go swimming. I feel at peace. I feel calm. I feel relaxed. And instead of being in the rat race I was in, because I was in the major rat race of, you know, having to make money. And then, of course, you know, every relative coming out of the woodwork needing it. And so having to make more money. And
Yeah.
now I'm like, later, I'm out of here. And I've been here. I've been connecting to the sacred sites. I'm doing a lot of collective consciousness work and a lot of work on the planet. To bring world peace, clearing out the slavery, the lack, the limitation, the beliefs about diseases, because it's all lies. It's just all programs for us to play with,
Right.
you know. So I'm doing my work. I'm absolutely loving my life. The integration took a little bit of time.
I'm curious how that is different because so just so everyone's clear, so what you're claiming is basically that Tamra and you were there sort of collectively before what we would refer to as the main, you know, I guess
the vehicle
prism or fractal of consciousness that was Tamra has left, and now you're in the driver's seat where you were in the back seat before, and and so for you it's been a totally different experience being the only one in the car, right, and taking the wheel.
True, and it's my first time here.
Wow.
I've never lived on planet Earth before, so I needed those 50 plus years to really, you know, I don't know why it took so long, but it did, and I know this is my first time here, and I don't have any karma here or anything. Now there is Tamra's past lives and stuff, and I've noticed, and because at first it was like, yay, I'm karma free, all of this stuff's clear. But then I've found that there's been some cell memories and stuff that Tamra's had that I've had to deal with and clear. And it's been a little shocking.
Interesting.
Like, man, I got to clear this and this and this and this.
Interesting.
So I thought I was completely free of all of that, but I have since learned that there is things that Tamra still needed to work through that I've had to take over and work through. But the doubt, disbelief, the fear, the uncertainty that Tamra carried, I don't have any of that.
Right.
And I'm thankful for that. You know, I'm living in the day to day, and much better than Tamra did. And you know, I'm still learning to be here. If that makes sense.
Sure.
But the energy of the modality has just gone off the roof because, you know, Tamra's consciousness was somewhat limited on how much could happen, where mine is unlimited because I know exactly what can happen because, you know, I brought this in from Arcturus, and Arcturus is known as a planet of healers. And I'm one of those, and I'm here to help planet Earth come into peace, love, joy, and happiness. That's my job. And by using the sacred activations, it'll help deprogram a lot of the belief systems that you've been running your whole lifetime or lifetimes, and also working to clear it out of the collective consciousness. You know, it's just like a cell of a body. Every cell of the body talks to every cell of the body, right?
Sure.
That's the same thing with humanity. We're like cells of a body. So when one learns it, the others learn it also.
Right. Wow, that's That's a pretty fascinating story, and certainly intrigued to see where it continues to unfold for you. All right. Well, now seems like a good moment to take a quick minute to tell those of you who aren't familiar a bit about our sponsor, Gaia. I've been a big fan of Gaia for many years now, which is why they're the only content provider I've ever reached out to in regards to potentially supporting this podcast. So needless to say, I'm very excited they're now supporting the show. Gaia truly is my personal go-to source for streaming consciousness content on the web. They have an incredible 7,000 plus exclusive videos covering 5,000 years of wisdom. Just to give you an example, on the show Missing Links, the incredible researcher Greg Braden explores all the biggest questions concerning who we are, where we come from, where we're going, by connecting the missing links between science and spirituality to complete our understanding of humanity's history and to better understand the interconnectedness of all things. Awesome, right? And that's just one example. As you guys constantly hear me say, it's a daily conscious effort to maintain an elevated vibration. And if you're looking to go deep down the rabbit hole to do so, then Gaia is the best place I know of to do it, period. And you can sign up for your first month for only 99 cents at gaia.com/positivehead. That's spelled GAIA.com/positivehead. Check it out. When you say you've been just like working on the collective conscious of the planet primarily since, the last few months since your life took this dramatic turn, or the character, the avatar that is, Tamra anyway, that particular physical body, right? It's been a dramatic turn. So you're basically just there doing work, on the collective consciousness. So what all does that entail? A lot of like meditation type work where you're doing things multidimensionally, or what?
I do things multidimensionally. I connect with the eye of God, or the highest source energy above all the programs and planets, and I connect into that energy to do my work. Some people, a friend of mine, Vicky's from Mexico, very spiritual being, very, oh God, how do I explain him? He's a magic man, but he won't say it, because he's very, very humble. But he calls it the ancestors call it the sacred energy. The energy I run is a spinning energy. It spins one way when you're receiving, and it spins another way while it's clearing. Wow. And it's very powerful, and it blows me away. I've seen miraculous healings on people. I've seen things that I've worked on where I start seeing them in the consciousness of the planet show up a couple months later, and I'll hear, "Do you see that?" And I'll go, "Whoa." And they're all, "You're doing that." It's like, okay. Because if we are a cell, we don't need 100,000 people to be doing this. If we are a cell and we're changing our cell belief systems, it affects every cell in the body, right?
Right.
So I'm here and I do what I'm told, and so I've been doing a lot of the sacred sites. Right now I'm in Puerto Escondido, so we're pretty far from all the temples and stuff where I'm at right now, but I'll be going to some temples again next month. I planted myself to do some work, really on the collective, but I really like being in the sacred sites because I'll hear, self-sacrifice. I mean, I was in Tulum and there was like over 3,000 skulls found there because these people, they would play this game. And whoever won the game to get this little ball through this little hole, they get sacrificed. And it's this whole ceremony that they have to get qualified to get sacrificed. So in humanity is in such a huge energy of sacrificing themselves or sacrificing other people. There's always this energy of sacrifice. And, we don't have to do that anymore. We don't need to do that anymore. Right. So I was working on self-sacrifice a couple of weeks ago for the planet. And it was just such a heavy energy. I accidentally took it on and about knocked me over. So the next day I ran Heaven on Earth activation and cleared it out because my heart chakra in the back, is your world heart chakra. And I was in so much pain. It's like, oh my God, so I ran the activation. It's like, wait a minute, why am I taking this on? So I cleared it and it's gone. So I'm really looking forward to see what happens in the collective consciousness of our planet. So people quit sacrificing other people, other things, their lives, their health, whatever they do to sacrifice to be close to God. And
Right.
so it'll be interesting, but I'm not doing it for that. I'm doing it because I work for God. I work for peace,
Right.
and that's my job. And the life I was living of, having to have a status quo of a Mercedes and a nice house and the sofas and the knickknacks and all that stuff is completely gone. I am free to travel and to do my work and just to do my work
Yeah.
without the need or worry about anything else. And I feel so free, and I'm so thankful.
Yeah.
Thank
That
God I
sounds.
didn't buy that house.
Yeah. Yeah. That sounds wonderful. Well, so, getting back to your sacred activations, and you touched on something that I'm curious, I'd like to probe a little further. You had talked about, some of the healings that occur from people receiving these activations. What are some of the most, profound healing experiences you or your students, clients, et cetera, have had using these? Would you care to share some of those?
Well, this one story is really dear to my heart because of the process and the person. Is started out as a client, became a friend, and for a year I told her, you're on the wrong blood pressure medication, you need to change it. And she ignored me, and she never went to the doctor, and I told her several times. So one day she called me and she says, I feel really weird. And I heard in my head she had a stroke. And I said, and I didn't want to tell her that to scare her. So I said, just, you need to go to the hospital and you need to go now. Well, she ignored me again, like she did before a year.
Right.
And she called me in the morning and she says, oh my God, I can't use my arm. I can't get out of bed. I'm falling. So I went over to her house. I picked her up. I was pissed off at her. It's like, why didn't you
Right.
listen to me?
Right.
And I took her to the hospital, and of course she had 2 strokes. So for a year, she was on a walker. Her left leg dragged. She couldn't use her left arm to brush her hair, but she couldn't button her bra for a whole year. And I had all these different healing modalities I was trained in. I tried everything with her. And then so now so a year into this, so now I'm in England. I get these activations. Now I'm in Italy. And I did the first 3 activations on her, which is the Lord Metatron, the Moses Code, and I think the Flower of Life, which is the Christ Consciousness activation. They're all sacred geometry activations. And so I did those on her. And a couple days later, she says, I have all these past life beliefs coming up. So I went in and looked and cleared that energy. And the next day after that, she woke up. No need for the walker. She could button her bra. She could brush her hair, and then she could walk and everything else fine. She had a little bit of a limp, and then she stopped using the activations because sometimes when you change so fast, it freaks you out, so you run away. So it took her about a year, and she started doing the activations again. Now you can't even tell she even had a limp.
Wow.
So, but I was getting calls from people that were going in for breast cancer surgery the next day, and then they would call me and tell me they couldn't find anything. The cancer's gone.
Wow.
Those are extreme cases, but a lot of people with couldn't get pregnant or now pregnant, couldn't get their business going or now in successful business, haven't been able to meet their soulmate. Now they're with their soulmate. I mean, there's just so many different stories. I train a lot of people in medical intuitive and healing, and the results they get with their clients, they're always really blown away on how fast it works and how powerful it is. I mean, because each activation will change hundreds of belief systems. Because
Wow.
if I run family constellations, it's going to go through all your family dynamics and heal it. Now that could take 6 months or so, but you'll notice that the relationship continues to change. And then you look 6 months forward and your relationships with your family is completely shifted. I mean, and when you get the activations, they continue to run. It's not like you have to stand on your head, twist around 3 times and jump up and down, or listen to them 21 days in a row. none of that's necessary. You just listen to them once or twice, or if you feel like you want to listen to it 10 times in a row, go for it. But the warning is that if you listen to 10 activations, hang on to your seat, because in about 2 days, all of those emotions are going to start coming up. Right. So I suggest people start a little slow, and or if they're ready just to really shift their life. I've had people go through 26 activations in a weekend, and on Monday they said they're completely and totally different. Their lives are like totally different.
Wow.
And it's completely changed. I've had other people say I didn't feel anything and then tell me how much their life has changed. So,
Right.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah. Well, and everyone receives things and processes things differently too, right? So
exactly.
So it's basically, these are sort of like verbal, it's like you're spelling to a certain degree, right? Casting a spell, right? Am I understanding that it's all verbal activations?
No, it's energy. I mean, I talk and I tell you what to focus on, but the energy is the energy, and the energy runs even on replays because it's got energy. And you might feel the spinning, or you might not, or you might cry. You might sit there and bawl your eyes out listening to it.
Wow, that's intense. That is certainly intriguing, and you said 300 or so, and do new ones continue to come through? Or you'll get these, and they're sort of like, okay, here's a new activation for you, and this is to, this is for this particular thing, kind of thing.
Yes. Yeah.
Interesting. Very, very interesting. So,
some more highly evolved ones are getting ready to come through. I've been told about. I did this new process, which I've known about for a while, but last night I actually did it, and I did it like at 6 at night. At 2 a.m. I couldn't fall asleep. I was awake at 7, and I felt like I was hit by a Mack truck because of the energy shifts, And so today I've just been kind of quiet.
Yeah.
But I feel the difference already. It's like, wow. I mean, I'm still quiet and I'm still going through the shifts, but I feel the calmness and clarity. Yeah. So, I had a major one come through last night.
Fascinating. So let's say someone comes to you and then they are seeking to have sacred activations done. Do you get sort of a intuitive hit on what activations are right for them at that time? Obviously I'm sure many could. Okay. Great. Interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I'm told what activations to do. And this is something I really love about activations is you can't misuse them. You can't do them on people without their permission. If the person doesn't need it, it's not going to run. If it's over the person's head and they're not ready for it, it's not going to run. The energy will not run. And my first experience was this in 2012. I had, I think, 12 activations. And so you started with the first one, and I did 3.5 hour. Now I do 10 to 15.5 hour with people. Because remember, each one will change hundreds of belief systems. So you think, oh, what's 15 activations? Trust me, it's a lot. And it'll continue working on you over a month or more. It'll continue shifting you. I mean, this stuff is just incredible. It blows me away.
Wow.
So I'm working on this guy, and I said, okay, I'm going to do super DNA activation. He goes, okay. So I'm running the activation, and or I'm trying to run the activation. The energy won't run. And I said, and I asked him, because this was at the beginning of all of this, right? This is, the first 6 months of the start of this. And I said, I don't understand. The energy's not running. And he said, well, I've been listening to a CD that for like the last couple months that has said to do this. And I said, well, it's work because you don't need this one because it won't run.
Interesting.
And then there's other times I've wanted to run an activation. I hear, no, do this one. And at the beginning, when I was always arguing and not listening, I'd say, no, I'm going to do this one. I'd hear, no, do this one. So then I would try to do the one I wanted to do, and it wouldn't run. And then I would do the one I was told to do, and then, of course, the energy would run.
Interesting. Yeah, this kind of reminds me a little bit of powwow I did a long time back. I actually just looked it up. Carlos Kukabura, who works with the template ceremonies. And, I know with you said you get sacred geometry. Oh, at first you see visions of sacred geometry, which would create healings. And that's sort of, it's similar in some ways. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the template or not, but it's a woman who got these downloads of how to, unwind certain, programs within us and activate DNA. And they basically during these ceremonies, they actually have 3D models of geometry that they're spinning while these activations are being sort of auditorily delivered into the group setting. I did a couple day, 2-3 day workshop maybe 3-4 years ago. And then Carlos came on the show. And any of you guys who want to go back and check that out as episode, just looking up episode 176, his synchronicity story is one of my favorite ones, a fascinating one. So maybe you guys want to go back and check it out. But are you familiar with the template ceremonies at all? It sounds similar in some ways.
I'm not at all. I don't follow anybody, but it sounds really good and really interesting and very similar to what I'm doing.
Yeah, and of course it would make sense that different
unwind.
Yeah, and he would use actually during those sessions, we would do these whole auditory things, at the end of each day, with sacred geometry being utilized in physical 3D form, spinning with light on it and all this interesting stuff. And then we would do sort of like muscle testing before and then after, and you would muscle test weak before and you would test strong afterwards, which was really interesting, was their way of sort of seeing if it was a successful implementation or integration.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, I guess you could do that with us.
Yeah. So, probably, a cosmic cousin, so to speak, there. But so one of the things that you had suggested that you might be open to, before we started recording was actually giving us an example, doing a sacred activation with me. And of course, the audience would benefit from that if they're listening, correct?
Oh, absolutely. And it also works on replays. So cool. What kind of activation would you like?
Oh, man. What kind of activation would I like?
Is there something you'd like to let go of or something you'd like to activate?
Wow. It's like, that's like asking like, what do you want out of, God's toolbox is here, laid before you. Pick what you'd like to take. So, I don't know. Is there anything in particular that bubbles up for you?
You know with what us was talking? Coming up? It's not a belief activation. Maybe we could do two. Okay. Let's do super DNA, which super DNA is going to turn on that. 4 more cordon in your DNA to make you 3,000 times less likely to get a disease or a sickness.
Okay. Sold. Sold to the man who doesn't want cancer.
Okay. So, and then how about anger and resentment towards God?
Ooh, that's an interesting one. Although I don't personally feel that. Maybe there's listeners that do. But agitation is definitely been one of my biggest things to overcome, having a lot of energy that runs through me. That's been, my greatest superpower to get things done and manifest things. And, in the downside of that, or the flip side of that coin is if, getting agitated if things don't go my way, or, short tempered. And I've come light years in my own growth in that department, but that has probably been a challenge. So that's kind of what I think of when you say that. I don't ever think of like
perfect
that towards God, but I guess everything is God, so maybe it is.
Yeah, just it'll clear out angers and resentments, and you'll just find that you act differently in situations. Things that used to bother you no longer bother you.
Okay, love that.
Okay, so let's start with the super DNA. Now, you might see something, you might not. You might feel something, you might not. It's okay. Don't worry about it. Some people feel it, some people don't. But that doesn't mean it's not working. So we'll do the super DNA first, and we're going to turn on 4 more cordon in your DNA.
Love it.
And while I'm doing this, I'm silent. So just know that I'm here and I'm running the energy.
Okay.
Okay. I'm going to now move into the activation, anger and resentment towards God. You might not feel you have anger and resentment towards God, but anything that brings you anger or resentment, just focus on that while I'm doing this. And we're going to start with your current life, and then I'll be running this through your future and past lives. I'll be clearing it out of your DNA, meaning your genetics. This goes all the way back through your genetic line. And also be clearing you out of the collective subconsciousness of humanity, because there's a lot of energy in humanity that you could be plugged into and be running that energy of anger and resentment. So just allow your thoughts to go wherever they go. And I'm starting now.
Okay.
Okay, we're running this through past lives, future lives, your whole timeline. Okay, through your genetics, your DNA. Okay, running this through the collective subconsciousness of humanity, unplugging you, like you said, unwiring you from this energy, so you no longer have to run this program. Okay, now just imagine that you can connect into Mother Earth's heart chakra, and just connect into that energy for a moment, and just allow that love and that joy and that happiness to fill every single cell of your body. Now, just a little warning. You might all of a sudden just feel so much calmer and relaxed, or in a day or two, you might find yourself very frustrated and very angry. And what this is just the energies that have been blocked in your cells are being released. And I promise it'll pass. Usually takes, a couple hours or a day, and it's just releasing. And then you'll find yourself just being much more calm and unreactive to things that used to make you mad.
I do feel unusual. I do feel unusually calm from,
Good.
In my body at this moment. Good. So, yeah, awesome. Wonderful.
You guys are integrating this. I don't know why I have to tell you this, but I've been told about 3 or 4 times. My youngest son, Kendall, who his birthday is today, he's turned 24.
Oh, wow.
I told him what was happening when it was happening with me in the integration and stuff. And he's told me that I've really shifted a lot. And he's all, it's so weird, Mom. I said, honey, I've been here for 53 years.
Wow.
It's not like just somebody else took over. I've been here with you this whole time. But he said that I've really changed a lot. And he's like, it's just so weird, Mom.
Wow. Wow. What an interesting thing, for him, though, because from one perspective, his mother crossed over, right? Like, in a sense, a part of his mother's. Yeah, right? I mean, how does that sit with him? That part of it.
Yeah. Well, he says I'm much more loving.
He's like, I like the new mom. I like you in the driver's seat. She can go explore other dimensions. That's funny. That is funny. Wow.
I know, isn't that funny? And if you would have told me I'd be telling you this story, I would think you were crazy. Or that this whole thing to me is just like so far out there that it's interesting.
yeah it's definitely,
because I've never been into conspiracy theories or just this type of stuff at all, and it's my whole life has just completely changed, and yay, I'm so excited about it.
Yeah, it's definitely it's an interesting story. And I first read a story, I don't know, maybe a year or two ago, about someone who claimed to be doing like a ceremonial type of thing. And then they had a walk-in experience and here's what happened, and here was our contract. And so this person claimed like, okay, I'm new on the scene. And I thought that was a really interesting story. And you're the first person I've had on who actually, claims to have had that happen. So it's something at the time I thought, oh, wow, I want to talk to someone on the show who feels that's their experience. So I'm glad you came to share.
Yeah, well, Tamra had, or we had, since I was there too, some clients. She had a little boy that was 9 years old that was telling his mom, there's two of us in here, and I came in at birth and the other one hasn't left. And the kids were like fighting, but they're in the same body. I mean, he would beat himself up.
Wow.
And the mom was beside herself. She didn't know what to do. So I did a session and sent the one into the light that was supposed to go. And she said the son was very happy, content, calm, and all of it stopped. And then Tamra worked with a couple other walk-ins. So I think it was getting her ready for what she was going to be going through, because of the experiences she had working with different clients.
Right. So I know you've shared quite a bit of story, but one in particular, and you've shared enough that you get off the hook if not. But one of the things I love to hear is like stories of like synchronicity or serendipity. Do you have anything like that comes to mind that you'd like to share?
I've got something really simple.
Okay, simple is
I
good.
have lots of those, but I had a really simple one the other day. We're sitting on the beach, and I looked at a friend of mine that's here with me. As a matter of fact, I met her on the trail while traveling.
Oh, cool.
But we're sitting on the beach, and I could sure use a massage. And this lady walks up within 30 seconds, says, "Hi, would you like a massage?"
Oh, wow.
And I went, "Yes, please. Can you come over here tomorrow?"
Wow.
And I told her where we were.
Wow, how perfect. That's some walk-in instant manifestation powers for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's been a lot of them. That's a really simple one, but the more you just live in life and the freedom of life and the flow of life, those synchronicities just start really showing up constantly for you.
Yes, they do. I definitely get them. They're everyday occurrences multiple times a day, most often for me at this point. So pretty incredible. Well, this has been amazing, absolutely intriguing and interesting to hear your fascinating story, and I can't wait to see where it goes. For those that want to continue to sort of follow your work or maybe even get involved, get activations or any of the things, I know you have a few different things that you offer, if I recall. So for those people, what is the best way for them to get involved if they'd like to do so or connect with you?
Well, my website is my name, tamraoviatt.com or sacredactivations.com, and I've got some free gifts for you there. There's a couple chapters out of one of my books called Heal Yourself, Heal the World, that you can download and read. And then there's 3 activations. One of them balances your chakras, and it does your 13 chakras, clears them out and balances them and connects them. Another one of them is anger and resentment towards God, because I think everybody needs that. And then there's another sacred geometry one, and I'm sorry, I think it might be the Flower of Life. I'm not really sure. But you can get all that free on my website. But cool. For listening to this show, we've got a special, I think we're going to try to do it with Positive Head as the code, and you'll get 50% or buy one, get one free off your first purchase. Oh, cool. So you can buy an activation, or you can even buy a package.
Oh, cool.
So you can buy one, get one free. So if you buy a package of 20 or 30 activations, I mean, we have them in prosperity or abundance. We have them for relationships, for health, for psychic abilities. So you can buy a package and get a whole package free, or you can buy a single activation and get a single activation free. So totally up to you on how you want to dive in. Cool. I also even do practitioner training. So I've got everything there for you to change your life, and if you wish to help others change theirs too.
Well, that's very gracious of you to give listeners a special deal if they decide if they feel called to participate. And you said it would code. So just to throw it out there to you guys, it'd be positive head, all one word, if you decide to participate in any of these activations or any of the things that Tamra has to offer. And very, very cool. Well, I do have one last question I'd like to leave you with, Tamra. And that question is this. In 60 seconds or less, what is the meaning of life according to, you, both of you? So hold on, let me back this up real quick. Did you reference, so you keep referencing Tamra like is the one that's left. So are you going to take on a new name or continue with the same name? I mean, did you have a different name that you want to go by? That's something that
I don't want to change my name. I know it's kind of hard. And, this is the first time I've really gone into this in an interview. I've touched on it briefly in another interview. And it's kind of hard to explain. I mean, my name from Arctus is Shaw, Shaaa.
Oh, wow.
Is how you would say it. But I've taken, I am a higher aspect of Tamra from her galactic oversoul. So, I am Tamra. So,
right.
It's just
like, degrees of separation.
Explain that, so, yeah.
Yep.
So I am Tamra. I'm just a higher aspect of her.
Perfect. Well, okay. So the question is this: what is the meaning of life according to the expanded Tamra Oviatt?
We're here playing a video game or a movie. We're here learning. We're here enjoying. We're here teaching. And really the meaning of life to me is about knowing that we're all one and just being beautiful love like you would be for your body. I mean, if you hurt your toe, you would give it love. You wouldn't kill it, right?
Right.
So you want to love those people that are hurting. And I'm not talking about being a martyr or anything else like that, but I'm talking about how you would take care of your toe. Just love everybody. And that is the meaning of life, is purely just love. And when you can be in pure love without judgment, I mean, you imagine the world we live in.
Yeah.
I mean, the world we live in is stunning, beautiful. But you imagine if we were all in love. I mean, we wouldn't be crying about the seas or the air or anything else, because everything would be perfect.
Right.
I mean, there wouldn't be any fear of lack of bees, because they would all be reproducing because they're receiving love. I mean, don't go out there and send fear to things, because then you're just creating more fear.
That's right.
So disconnect from that, and whatever you're feeling fearful or anger about, send it love. Yeah. That's what it's all about. It's all about the love.
Absolutely. My favorite quote is "Love is the answer." Now, what was the question? And you have summed it up very, very well here, Tamra. This has been absolutely fascinating. Thank you so much for sharing and connecting with us all. It has been quite the journey, and I hope your journey forward in 3D is everything you dreamed of and more.
Thank you so much, and thank you for inviting me in so I could share this wild story with you, and so I could practice talking about it.
Yeah.
It's how do you tell people this?
Right. Well, you did an amazing job, and I definitely appreciate you. And until next time, journey well.
Thank you. Have a good night. Thanks, everybody.
You too. Well, everyone, that concludes this week's interview episode. If you have enjoyed this positive download from our hearts and minds to yours, please take a minute, give us a rating or review on iTunes, since iTunes is the holy grail of all things podcasting. Your good reviews help us to reach more listeners. Also, we would be extremely appreciative if you would tell your friends and family about the show. Our sincere intent with the Positive Head podcast is to spread positivity to the world, because we're selfish, quite honestly. I say that jokingly, but really only halfway joking. I'm referring to the good kind of selfish, based on the knowing that we all get what we give in this life, because when we give, we're actually always giving to extensions of self, since we're all really one in the same consciousness, just in different bodies. So if you want to be a good selfish along with us by helping to spread the positivity, by all means, please proceed to shout about the Positive Head podcast from your rooftop. Otherwise, as you continue on your fabulous journey in this 3D reality, be sure to remember this. As long as you ain't dead, you're already positive ahead. Journey well, everyone, and thank you for being.